Hi guys, welcome back to Green Water Fish, and today I'll be talking about how and what to feed your goldfish. And they're eating bloodworms, of course, very yummy. And let's first talk about what to feed them. So I like to think about goldfish food in terms of like human food. So we're taking of, main meals, snacks, and maybe some desserts. So I think about same thing for goldfish. So their main meal would be staple food, kind of like those solid pellets. Let's see. Those protein shakes would be, those high protein products. Snacks or treats could be something else. So let's first talk about staple food. So I usually have multiple pellets that I use to mix together. The first one that I use is Saki Hikari fancy goldfish food, and this purple package is the newest product. I like this product because first of all, they said color enhancing because of some of the ingredients that's in the food, and also the secondly, which is the most important thing, is that the food are those pellets are actually sinking pellets, which means that as soon as the pellet touches the water, they'll sink down. This is good because goldfish don't need to gulp food on the surface of the water, and then if they do that, they'll ingest air pockets into their intestine, and that'll create flow bladder issue. And as depicted here, they said that the bacteria or probiotic that's in the food will get activated as soon as it enters the goldfish's intestine. And then that'll also help with digestion, and as soon as the waste product is excreted, they'll also help with break it down, the waste product. And then I also like their ingredients and their guaranteed analysis result. This is because I like goldfish food that has a really diverse ingredients. I don't want to see a lot of fillers like flowers and stuff. Those are not nutritious for goldfish. I want goldfish to be able to eat a variety of food. This is because their ancestors in the wilderness, they eat a lot of random stuff. So it's good for them to have a very diverse diet. And then also, if you look at a guaranteed analysis, they have about 45% for protein, which is pretty high for goldfish. And I think that's good for younger goldfish. And then as you can see here, the pellets are, I'll show you, the pellets are pretty small. They sink really easily as soon as they touch the water, which is pretty good. And then Saki Hikari also have multiple other types that they sell. They have a green package, but I think you can only buy it like on somewhere, and then they have to ship it from Japan. They also have a formula for Aranda or ranchus. Those formula are have more protein content because ranchus and Aranda will need more protein for their head growth, which is necessary. And then I like to mix goldfish food with other brand, just because every brand has different ingredients, different components, and I think it's good to mix different kinds together. Although Saki Hikari said that do not mix with other types and purely just feed the specific purple package, I haven't had any issues with mixing food together, and I think my goldfish are doing pretty well. So the second one that I use is produced by New Life Spectrum, this goldfish one. It's also sinking pellets, 1 millimeter, which is the smallest one, and then you can look at the ingredients here. They're slightly different from Saki Hikari, which is good. This is exactly what I wanted. And then I like to look at their analysis as well, and then their protein contents is about 36%, which is a little bit lower than Saki Hikari, but that's okay. Just because I think this brand has more vegetable components in it, and I think that's good because Saki Hikari is a little bit heavier on the protein side. But one issue with this brand is that even though they said it's sinking pellets, I've been having an issue with the pellets sinking down. Sometimes it's not a big issue for me just because I can easily just gently press them, and then as soon as I gently tap them on the surface of the water, they sink down really easily. Another way that you can solve this issue is by pre-soaking the pellets. That usually help to bring them down faster and easier. But I don't usually have the time to. I just mix all of them together in the feeder, and my goldfish are doing okay, I guess. So again, this is the pellet. They are about this size, a little bit smaller than the Saki Hikari pellets. So yeah. And then lastly, the third ingredient that I usually mix together as a staple food is also by New Life Spectrum, but it's actually made for community fish. I got this one first before I got any other food, just because Well, why not, right? Because I used to have tropical fish before I had goldfish. And I was actually pretty happy that I got this one just because the ingredients are very different from goldfish ingredients. They're more concentrated on kind of like saltwater creature stuff in their ingredient, and I think it's good just because they have variety. Again, variety is the key for goldfish keeping. And then you can look at the protein content. It's a little bit higher than the goldfish formula, 37% instead of 36%. Yeah, so this is basically the same thing as the goldfish one. They're 1 millimeter sinking pellets. Still have a little bit sinking problem, but not a big issue for me. Like, even if the goldfish eat it off the surface, that's just like a few of them. It's not a big issue. So what I do is then I mix all three together, and I like to do 2 parts of Saki Hikari and 1 part of New Life Spectrum goldfish and 1 part of New Life Spectrum community fish. This is because I think Saki Hikari is generally higher quality. It's pretty expensive, I have to say. I think I paid 18 bucks for that. But I think it's good because it has high protein, and my fish are pretty young. They're not even 1 year old, so I think high protein diet is better for a younger fish. But as fish gets older, I can just give them a little bit less of protein and more vegetable in their diet. So I use this eHEM automatic feeder, and I'm pretty much using it pretty well. It's really easily programmable. They have detailed instructions. It's really easy to set up. You can set up maximum of 4 feeds a day, and on each feed you can do 2 turning, and then if you want to do additional feeding, you can just press this button right here. You can just feed extra food, and then to tailor how much you want to feed, you can just use the sliding thing on top of it. I use like tape around it just because it slides very easily, and I think it's good because it promotes goldfish to look for food, and they're just more active that way because they know like random time during the day there will be food drop down. You may like it. And I set the feeding time about 3 times a day for automatic feeder. One time at 7 or 8 a.m., one at noon, and one like at 6 or so. This is because if I do it 3 times a day, that'll give them enough food to look for during the day, and then the last feeding is not too late, so that after I come back home after work, I can feed them extra food like bloodworms and brine shrimps or green peas or whatever. So I think that diet is pretty good. And regarding how much you need to feed them, regarding these pellets, is that you want to aim for 10% of their body weight for their food. But I know a lot of people can weight their fish. Like, I don't have a scale to weight them, but how I gauge them is by looking at how much food they can store in their mouth. I usually look for about 2 mouthfuls of food at each feeding, and then I do it 3 times because they're younger, they need to eat more. But as they grow older, you can just cut down the frequency to maybe even once a day, which is fine. And then one thing you need to keep in mind is that the more frequent you feed the fish, the faster the water quality goes down. So if you're feeding your fish really frequently, like 2 or 3 times a day, 2 mouthfuls each time, then you have to keep in mind that you need to change water a little more frequently just because they excrete waste a little faster when they eat more. And also keep in mind that at different temperature, goldfish eat a different amount. If your temperature drops to like 60 or so, goldfish don't really eat that much, so you can just cut it down really low, like once a day. That'll be enough. But when the temperature gets really high, like in the 80s, then they'll use a lot of energy because their metabolism will be a lot faster compared to a colder temperature, and then they'll require more food that way. And then in addition to those pellets that I feed 3 times a day automatically, I also like to give them protein shakes because they're babies, they need proteins, right? So I use high protein products like frozen bloodworm and frozen brine shrimps, and I feed them manually. I try to feed bloodworms about once a day, and I think it's good because they need more protein, and especially for around the fish, they need protein to have good one growth. And then frozen brine shrimp, I usually feed them like once a week just because brine shrimp is a little bit smaller, it's a little bit messier compared to bloodworm. So I like bloodworm better. And bloodworm is better because they have better proteins and pigments for goldfish to get a better color. So what you need to do is really easy. You just take your frozen bloodworm that you bought at a local fish store or pet store, and you rinse it over under the tap water to defrost them a little bit. And then you can just drop it in your bowl and then put a little bit of water in there to defrost it. And as it's defrosted, you can put in a net to rinse it, just so that you get rid of the extra dirty stuff that you don't want to get into your tank. And then you can drop it in the tank and feed them. It's really easy. Frozen brine shrimp, it's the same thing. Rinse them, defrost them, and defrost them, rinse them, and then feed them. Frozen brine shrimp is a little bit messier because they're from salt water, so make sure you rinse them well. And of course, besides these two, you can be creative too. I think there's like black worm that you can feed to. Some people get like mosquito larvae, you can feed them as well. So yeah, and then another source of protein is from vegetable protein, as vegetarians know. They usually come from peas. So one of the best vegetable option for goldfish is green peas. And I'll show you later how to do it. But basically, green peas is very good because they're a natural laxative for goldfish. So if your goldfish look a little bit bloated or constipated, feed them a couple of green peas for them. It's usually good to help them, move their bowels a little faster to clean it up. And it's also good when your goldfish is like gulping on the air, got a lot of air pockets in the GI system. The green pea will help flush the air pockets out. But some people said that it can help with swim bladder issue, but I don't think that's the case. If your goldfish, real anatomy wise, the swim bladder has defect, green peas is not gonna help with it. Green peas is only for laxative use. So what you need to do is go to a store, grocery store, buy some frozen green peas. It doesn't have to be fancy, it doesn't have to be organic, just any frozen green peas. And then you just pour them out. Pour like a few out and then soak them in water, and they should be defrosted in a few seconds. And then what you need to do is you hold a green pea, and then you squeeze a little, a little nit, make a little opening on the outside shell of the green pea, and then you squeeze it out so that you remove the outer shell. And then this is the inside. It's really soft, and you can divide them to make them a little softer for goldfish that are smaller. And I usually feed them similarly to a mouthful of green peas for them each time, and it's really good. The reason why you want to remove the outer shell is because they don't really digest outer shell that well. They usually only eat the inside, and it's also easier for them to swallow because it's softer. If you've done it, you know it's really soft and mushy and squishy, and it's really easy. It might look difficult at first, but really you just need to make a little hole out of the outside shell and just literally squeeze it, and it comes out like this. Really easy. And I think I've also tried other vegetables like spinach. Some people have luck with spinach, but my goldfish is not really interested in spinach, so I stopped feeding them spinach. I've also tried broccoli, boiled and raw. They liked it, but I just feel like they don't eat it that well compared to green peas, so I stopped feeding them other vegetables. I've never tried garlic before, but I heard it's good for goldfish, so let me know if your goldfish actually eat garlic. I'm very curious to know. And don't worry, your goldfish will find other ways of eating vegetables. Some people have duckweed in their tank. It's actually pretty good food for goldfish. They eat duckweed like it's some delicacies. And then I had these floating plants in the tank. It used to look like this, but now it's totally destroyed by the goldfish. But I think they liked it. The poop looked green sometimes. And then on to other food. So algae waffer. So some people ask if goldfish eat this, and I have to say they eat it because I tried it one time. They actually liked it, and I think it's a good source of vegetable intake, but it's pretty expensive. Some people said that they tend to have swim bladder issue after they eat this. I mean, I only fed it once, so I can't really tell you, but my personal opinion is that it doesn't worth to use so much money to buy this little bottle and then feed them and then use it all in like 2 days. If you're really interested in getting more vegetables in their diet, I would recommend using Repashy Soilent Green. A lot of people have great success with that. I just don't want to use it because I think it's a little bit above my budget and I don't have the time to prepare the food for them. And my goldfish are young, so they don't need that much vegetables in their diet. So far, I think they're doing pretty good. So yeah, this is the size of this algae thing that I bought. It's like about your fingernail size. It's really not that big. They can probably finish this in like a few days. So yeah, it's a no-no for me. And then secondly, some people like to feed them with floating pellets. Like this one is just an example because I don't have any goldfish floating pellets. So they're okay, depending on the brand. Their ingredients might be okay, but this one is not that good. My boyfriend got this from my betta fish. He doesn't know anything about fish. Anyways, so yeah, it's floating pellets. I wouldn't recommend it just because they're floating. Goldfish will ingest air into their intestine. It's not good for their GI system. They'll float around, have a lot of swimming issues. So in general, I don't recommend floating pellets. I think there are a lot of brands out there, but yeah, just when you buy pellets, just look on the label and then see if there's something written as sinking pellet, and those are good. And then the third type would be flakes. So flakes are pretty popular among people, especially for tropical fish. I used to feed all of my tropical fish with flakes just because they're really easy, they're really thin, they sink as soon as fish touch them, and my tropical fish love it. And this one is actually pretty good, has protein content is 41%, a lot of different ingredients. But just because it's flakes, it's kind of messy, and they break really easily, so I don't think it's good for goldfish that need to eat a big chunk of food at one time. And also it floats. Similar reason. I wouldn't feed my goldfish with this. I know these floating pellets and flakes are usually cheaper, so if budget is one of the limitation factor of choosing goldfish food, I would recommend omega-1. I heard a lot of people talking about omega-1 sinking pellets. Remember, sinking pellets, they have flakes and floating pellets too. And some people said that they are just as good as other brands that I talked about at the beginning, but I haven't really used them, so I can't really give you my personal opinion, but it's worth a try. It's a lot cheaper compared to that Japanese brand. So yeah, this is my how to and what to for your goldfish video. If you have any questions, feel free to comment below. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope you find this video helpful, at least. And give me a thumbs up if you liked it, and please subscribe to my channel. I would really appreciate it, and I can't wait to see you next time. Can you help me?